In the wrestling world, the people are represented by two separate but unequally important groups. The wrestlers and bookers, who literally do all the hard work, and the fans, who endlessly nitpick and overanalyze everything they do. These are their stories.
Hey! It's Warhorse, and you need to shut your mouth, open your eyes, and clean out your ears, because it's time to listen to the Raw and Order podcast. That's right, they're bringing you the best in all that meaty podcasty goodness in one, what is it, an hour? Two? Who cares? Who gives a shit? You need to listen to it right now, or else Warhorse is gonna, I don't know, roll your ass!
Welcome to another episode of Raw and Order, the wrestling booking unit, the only wrestling podcast on the planet that went live only 15 minutes late tonight. I am your host, Detective Mark Sparks, and I am joined, as always, by my partner in crime fighting, District Attorney Vincent Kayfabe. What's going on, man? How are you?
I can still smell his breath. Every time the
Did it smell like Slim Jims?
No, it smelled like a guy who'd been on the road and eaten on the road food.
Like Slim Jims.
Brushed his teeth before he had a match, and then he had a match, and he was
then
kind
it's
enough
Slim
to...
Jims.
Do you want it to be Slim Jims?
He wants it to be Slim Jims. He's trying real hard to get a Slim Jims sponsorship, and I'm just trying to help, man.
It smelled like his breath. It smelled like breath, which is never...
Breath.
You can say good breath, but there's no such thing as good breath.
Was it
like
breath?
Good breath smells like mint.
If you pronounce it with an F at the end, was it breath?
Breath.
Man, his
Good breath smells like breath.
Man, that's some bad breath you got there. No JLB. JLB's got stuff going on in his life, so we wish him the best with what's going on. We won't talk exactly about what it is. That's not ours to share. So it's just the two of us. Just the two of us. Going to talk about professional wrestling for this last week. This was the fallout week to a whole bunch of pay-per-views or premium live events, whatever you want to call them.
Please, not please.
Yeah, plus.
Please.
So we'll just kind of get into it because there's some things that happened at the end of the week that are really kind of a big news sort of thing. But the things that happened through the start of the week were kind of just more of the same.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we saw some sportsmanship at the beginning of the week out of AJ.
Yeah. So you had it's kind of interesting. Seth Rollins' character is a real example right now of how they realize that when the crowd starts singing along with your entrance music, you kind of are a face, whether you want to be or not. Because his character is supposed to be a heel. He's supposed to be the cocky,
It's not
arrogant
even a real
prick.
sing-along either. It's
No, it's just yeah.
The whole thing, the whole story. We just played the whole song for you on the short version.
Yeah. But I mean, in fairness, they did the same thing with Shinsuke's music. That's why they gave it lyrics in Japanese that no one could sing along with it. But anyways, so he came out and everyone sung, and then, like you said, AJ Styles came out to pay respects to him for, you beat me fair and square, and I need to offer you my hand and respect. No,
Respect. Yeah,
they're both already married.
Sorry.
But and then he shook his hand, and then sure enough, the Judgment Day's music hit, and they came out and they talked smack. And of course, I think the wise man Teddy Long once said, "We're gonna have a tag team
match,
player." Sure enough, the funny moment from this was when getting into the ring, Seth Rollins' fake pleather pants ripped right at the crotch. And he did the whole promo with that, and then afterwards, in fact, there was a backstage segment with him, and at the end of it, AJ's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go change in my gear. You gotta change your pants." He's like, "Oh yeah, I do." It was pretty funny.
That's funny.
But it did, however, I know Bleacher Report noticed it took 7 minutes into the show before Rollins said his first word. 7 minutes of entry, walking down the ramp, people singing along to his music, all that stuff before any actual words were said.
That's pretty over. Pretty over.
Next match of the night was a Money in the Bank qualifying match, because that's the period we're in for WWE is now every show has to have qualifying matches to Money in the Bank. Heaven forbid we just announce the people who are in it anymore. I mean, there's still going to be at least one person. It happens every year. They have all these qualifying matches, and then there's like one person who's just like,
just I want to be in it.
I want to be in it. Okay, you're in it. So this one was Miz versus Ricochet, and Ricochet won, as I think anyone would have expected in this situation. Ricochet's kind of turned into Mr. Money in the Bank qualifiers. He seems to get in every year. And you'd think him being the type of wrestler he is that would give him an advantage in Money in the Bank, but it apparently doesn't because he keeps not winning it.
This is the year, bud.
This is the year, man. I'm holding my breath.
Gonna be a long podcast after you pass.
I can't do it anymore. Probably wise. Anyways, I will say though, in this match though, it was impressive. Miz's performance. Miz has always been a quality wrestler, but not like top tier in terms of wrestling.
No, his top tier is drawing heel heat.
Yep. But he pulled out Hurricane Rana. It wasn't the best looking Hurricane Rana I've ever seen, but it wasn't bad. He also had a springboard crossbody. You know, he was pulling out some lucha shit, and I did not necessarily hate it. Moving on, we got Indus Share beat up nobodies. Yeah, Trish Stratus gave a promo about beating Becky Lynch, and then of course Zoe Stark came out, and then Lynch came out and challenged her, and then there's a fight, and same old for that. You know, people accuse me of being an AEW mark, and it's probably fair to accuse me of that. But it's stuff like this that is part of why. Like, people have problems with the storytelling in AEW, but at least they try to do something new and fresh. Because this is the same story that they tell every time. You beat me, but you had some help. Now I'm going to come out. I'm going to beat up your help. I mean, it's the WWE formula. And that's part of what AEW is at least working against a bit, that formula. Speaking of WWE formula, we had 3 Indian guys come out, and it was the modern day Maharaja. Well, he's still Indian. He's just from Canada.
I'm just saying he's not naturally born in India.
Well, I got to be honest. I'm not 100% certain Veer and Sangha, either of them, are naturally born in India, but Indian parents, one way or another, makes you Indian. So, but I'm actually going to look it up. Veer was actually born in India.
Fortunately for him, he's no longer coming.
And so was Sangha. So Jinder is the only one who was not born in India. But of Indian heritage. Anyways, they came out, they put away the two jobbers, and then whatever. You had probably my favorite segment of the night next. And that was Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens out talking about beating Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa.
Just do the thing. You gotta do the thing.
Do the thing. Just say the words. The thing that makes things that make you chuckle. Say the words. Thank you. Yes.
It was so funny.
I loved it. And you know, I actually like them taking Alpha Academy and presenting them as worthy opponents, not just comedy roles, and also likable. Like, I think they tried so hard to make them heels for so long that they didn't realize that we actually liked the shoosh and the thank you. You know?
Yeah.
So
obviously still irritating, but it fits. I think WWE struggles to understand what happened when the kayfabe world ended. When the fans really finally just went, oh, yeah, that's not real. And there's a certain amount of just people choose to be anti what you want them to be. And also, we can appreciate good heels.
But that being said, The Rock was a heel through a lot of his run, and we still loved him.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But that's because they allowed him to be a likable heel.
Yes.
You know. So, anyways, unfortunately, Alpha Academy had to lose to Imperium. Is what it is. But it wasn't like a squash match. It was a decent match. It's interesting that they've just kind of thrown Maxine Dupree now with Alpha Academy, and they didn't have Masse or the rest, both of Maximum Males come out with them. Which makes me wonder if they're not
done with Maximum models.
Yeah, get away from them. Anyways. You then had the women's tag titles fatal four-way. Raquel Rodriguez and Shotzi, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, Bayley and Io Sky, and Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green. Winner becomes the new tag team champions. Winner was Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey, so they are our new tag champions, which makes sense because they were obviously building up a feud for the tag belts for them with Raquel Rodriguez and Liv.
Yep.
And with Liv, God, this is just, let's just cut to the chase and give them the belts. Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green actually had matching ring gear, which is always nice, even if they feel like a thrown together tag team, because it makes them feel a little bit more like an actual tag team.
Yeah,
not
like at the very minimum, they were like, let's go shopping together. All right.
But we had JD McDonough's debut on Raw. And what do we do whenever we call up a male singles star from NXT?
Beat the shit out of Dolph Ziggler.
You beat the shit out of Dolph Ziggler. That's what you do. And sure enough, first match was versus Dolphy Ziggs. And it actually ended in a double countout. So
so Dolph didn't take the loss.
Yeah, he didn't take a loss. He just got shit beat out of him, and then
God, every time. That poor guy.
Yeah. Every single time.
His work rate is so incredible, and they're just like, hey, we called up a guy. Oh, okay, yeah. So, you want me to show him the ropes? Well, yeah. I want you to, and then
and then you're gonna lose to him, or
you're either gonna lose to him or he's gonna beat the fuck out of you.
yeah, or both. It might be both, but something's gonna happen, and you're gonna be used to make him look better.
No, I guess. I mean,
Can I win a match sometime?
Can I win a match today?
No.
We did that with Drew. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he put the world title on him. Yeah, and you've had a world title before, haven't you? Yeah, it was like 12 years ago.
Yeah, so you've had it,
Yeah, so
I don't know why you're complaining. Let the new kids have a shot. Can I please have a shot sometime? I don't know. I mean, he seemed perfectly content to collect a paycheck and go home at the end and use his fame for his comedy. Yeah. Him and his little brother, the Hollywood hunk, Ryan Nemeth.
Must have different dads.
I don't know. They look.
These days.
They do look enough similar.
Yeah, but Dolph's last name is Ziggler.
Well, that's his showbiz last name.
Oh.
Ryan Nemeth's showbiz last name. His real name is Ryan Ziegler.
Ryan Ziegler. He didn't want to ride his brother's coattails the whole way.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when you get your SAG card, you have to make sure you have a unique name. And he's in movies, and so he chose specifically the very unique name of Ryan Nemeth.
Yeah.
I mean, how many Zieglers do you know in Hollywood? There's like dozens of them. There's
Ziegler?
There's
not really in Hollywood.
There's I don't know them right now. I don't have IMDb open, but there's a lot of them. There's a lot. And that horse is dead. So Cody Rhodes then came out with his arm in a sling and said he's still going to fight Brock Lesnar, but he didn't tap out. Now, first of all, I know you can pass out from pain. I know that. But the Kimura lock is not really a pass out, submission hold. It's not a choke hold. It's not a sleeper. It's not a anything like that.
No.
And so it just tells a weird story to be like, I passed out to the Kimura lock.
I mean, other than that, you passed out from pain.
Yeah, but also, it's not like Brock Lesnar has never used any of the other holds before.
True.
True. You could have had Brock Lesnar put him in a rear naked choke and have him pass out to it.
Brock's going to put me in a naked choke?
Yeah, buddy. You're going to feel little Brock rubbing against your back. What? I didn't say that.
I don't know if we can say little Brock on...
Well, he's Big Brock, and so...
Twitch.
But afterwards, you had Shinsuke versus Bronson Reed for the next qualifying entry into the Money in the Bank. And it was actually a pretty decent match all in all. Shinsuke got the victory, which kind of surprised me because I really figured that Bronson was a shoe-in for this. Now, it doesn't mean they can't have a second chance qualifying. They do that all the time. So it could be that that's how he gets in. But as of right now, Bronson's not in the Money in the Bank, and Shinsuke is.
That's true. It was a good match on Shinsuke's behalf. Has he lost a step?
Shinsuke?
Yeah.
No, here's what it comes down to, I think. There's been actually talk about it on other podcasts over the years. This isn't anything new. But people basically report that Shinsuke is perfectly happy with his position in WWE now, and has been for a long time. More specifically, he gets paid a good amount of money. He gets to live in America. He gets to go surfing on his days off. He doesn't have a super strenuous life. And he's not scraping to make ends meet, you know? And when in Japan, he was wrestling every bit as frequently, but he also had to live, in the dojo system and train new people, or he had to go to, other things and work indies and book consistently amongst all the indies and all this stuff. And so he's kind of like, I don't have to be the hardworking, throw everything out at this problem Shinsuke that I was in Japan. I can be laid back, surfer dude Shinsuke, and just do what I have to do in the matches. You know what I mean? And WWE, that's one of the things WWE figured out a long time ago, a formula that they like their matches to go. And every wrestler finds their formula. And Shinsuke's formula is fight for a little bit, go behind for a little bit, come up from the underdog position, do the come on spot, do some kicks, and then Kinshasa for a victory. You know what I mean? On ones that he's going to win. And it was a good match, but it was basically the Shinsuke match that we've seen.
A bit stale.
Yeah, it's nothing bad about it, but also nothing extra special about it. It was the same old same. Backstage, Matt Riddle declared it's hot bro summer, and I really, really hate that now they're going to say that every week. You just know it, right? Hot bro summer is going to be what Riddle says every time he gets on the mic for the next 2 months.
Maybe he's going to win Money in the Bank. He was getting a push before he failed the test.
Hot bro summer, man. And then we had the main event tag team match, Judgment Day.
If you're going to have something other than Gunther Brock, though, that's an okay Gunther loss, is Riddle. I will go there. I'll go that far. Anyway, sorry, go on.
Judgment Day versus AJ Styles and Seth, and it was Damian Priest and Finn Balor representing Judgment Day. Of course, Rhea Ripley and Dominic were outside to be distractions and stuff like that. In the end, though, Styles and Rollins picked up the victory and sent us home happy with singing his song. I really thought this was the time to bring the OC out and have a AJ Styles heel turn. Rollins, AJ teaming up for this match, and then the OC comes out, turns on Rollins, helps Judgment Day win in a kind of partnership sort of a concept. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Didn't happen. We did, however, get OC back, or at least the Good Brothers back, on SmackDown, which is what we will go to now. Big thing with SmackDown was the 1,000 days celebration for Roman. And of course, that was the last thing they did.
Yes, it was.
Started out the Brawling Brutes versus Austin Theory and Pretty Deadly. I'm just
that
frustrated.
Works better than I thought it would.
Yeah. Well, I Theory and Pretty Deadly, actually, in hindsight, is a pretty good team up to do.
Yeah, it's that team, that group settles in better than I thought it would.
Mm-hmm. Then you had Hit Row versus the OC. Of course, Hit Row is SHIT, so
They were in this match to take the loss.
yep. Grayson Waller had his Waller Effect TV show sort of thing. I don't know what you call it. With Asuka, interviewing Asuka, and I'm happy to see Asuka as heel champion. It's interesting, however, that like Io Sky, Bailey, Zelina Vega, and Lacey Evans, as well as Shotzi, all interrupted the promo. And four of them, not Shotzi, are actually heels, more or less. Zelina is maybe a face in the LWO now, but Lacey's definitely a heel. Io and Bailey are heels. So we had heel versus heel for a lot of it. But it did feature a moment of Asuka and Io Sky just talking back and forth in Japanese, which I do love, especially when they do what they've been doing recently, which they didn't used to do. This is new to WWE, and that is let them speak in Japanese and don't bother translating. Because it always before would have been they say something and then someone steps in and be like, Asuka says that no.
Yeah, they don't need the translation.
We don't need the translation. Went to the Money in the Bank qualifying match, Zelina Vega versus Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans debuting her new look, which I don't know what better way to describe it than Sergeant Slaughter.
Well, I mean, you could go with like Captain Slaughter if you wanted, or General Slaughter. But yes, you nailed it.
It is.
You're gonna pull it up, aren't you?
I am pulling it up. It is obviously
Camo.
well, even more than camo. It is fairly blatantly trying to be a modern version of Sergeant Slaughter. Like this picture has Sergeant Slaughter side by side with it.
Yeah. She needs the aviators.
Yeah.
That would be a difference maker here.
I just don't understand how they could drop the ball so much with Lacey Evans. Just do what she did in NXT. Right? She was a heel, vintage pinup style character. She did well at that. Then you bring her up to the main roster and you're like, no, we're going to try to make her a face. And that does not work. And then, like, well, we're going to make her a heel, but not the heel that she was before that did work. We're going to make her a different heel. Now we're going to make her a ripoff of Sergeant Slaughter. Which, by the way, Sergeant Slaughter's daughter, apparently, not a fan of the new look. Sergeant Slaughter's daughter tweeted out, "No, this is not okay." At WWE, who the fuck does Lacey Evans think she is? There's only one Sergeant Slaughter. There's only one Slaughter daughter, and she's just a poser. So
I get it, but also they own their gimmicks.
yeah. In the end, Zelina Vega won the match and gets to go to Money in the Bank, the women's Money in the Bank match. I would not hate Zelina Vega as the women's winner.
You would not hate it?
I would not hate it.
Oh, okay. So you would hate it?
No, I wouldn't hate it.
Oh, okay. You'd like that?
Yes. No, I just wouldn't hate it. There's that period, that space in between liking and hating.
So you'd be indifferent to it.
I'd be okay with it, but like, it wouldn't be my first choice.
Okay.
You got to see the men's Money in the Bank qualifier, Montez Ford versus LA Knight.
Yeah.
And reports had it like a month ago that WWE was eyeing LA Knight as a potential winner of Money in the Bank. Therefore, you would not be surprised to know that LA Knight won this Money in the Bank qualifier.
Yeah.
And therefore is going to Money in the Bank. And then the moment we were waiting for all night, the Roman Reigns Bloodline segment. And it started off with presenting him with a new belt. But we will get to the new belt after we talk about the other parts of this. Because the other parts of it are the downfall of the Bloodline storyline, which is legitimately good.
2 years long now.
2 years long. They had the whole thing where, Roman was like, I forgive you. I welcome you back. You know, I understand all of this stuff. And then Jimmy had to run his mouth a bit and forced it into a situation where Solo had to choose a side. And Solo spoke in a rare time.
Yeah.
And said, you're my tribal chief. You know, I've always got your back. And then a pause.
But these are my actual brothers.
But these are my brothers. These are my actual brothers. And he walks across to stand next to them. And then Jimmy starts getting all hype. That's right. Now it's 3 against 1. And then Samoan Spike to Jimmy Uso. And then a beatdown. And then Tribal Chief Roman Reigns left with Solo and Paul Heyman. And on his way out, you could hear him say to Paul Heyman that Jay will fall in line just like he always does. Good storytelling.
But he didn't always. But they're assuming he will now.
Well, Jay always eventually fell in line.
True. Trying to raise my hand enough.
Eventually.
Do the hand gesture there.
True.
Yeah.
True.
There we go.
Oh, there we go. True. So all of that part was legitimately good. What was not legitimately good
that dang belt.
Is that new fucking belt.
You know, you bitched about the last one too.
I didn't like the coloring scheme of the WW, right? But here's the deal, right? In the hindsight, compared to this belt, that previous one looks like a fucking work of art. I enjoy the previous one. I would have made the W a little bit lower, a little bit smaller, and a little bit lower. You know, my nitpicks are more design. the W feels like it's a little too high on the thing. It needs to be a little lower.
Yeah.
Things like that. I think it could be made of a different material. It could be jeweled, or it could be blacked out or something to make it stand out better. Things like that and everything. But in hindsight, I take back all of my criticisms because it could have been this.
I don't hate this as much as you do. I don't like the WWE. I don't like this championship. What I really hate the most about it, but I, because it's a variation on what was, I don't hate it. That's why I don't hate it.
That's exactly the reason I do hate it.
Okay, and that's fair.
It's just all it is another variation. All it is doing the same thing that they've done.
Absolutely hate about this one is that it is the undisputed WWE Universal Champion. Just make it the Universal Champion instead of undisputed champion. Because now what you've done, again, that we were concerned about was devalue the championship that Seth just earned.
But the other one's the WWE World Heavyweight Champion.
Oh.
And this is the undisputed Universal Championship. See, the other one's a heavyweight championship, and this is a universal.
Just drop the undisputed, man.
Championship.
Just drop the undisputed, and you're good to go. But nope. They gotta call it the undisputed champion, which now leaves room for Seth to want to pursue this belt.
Yeah,
and also leaves room. The only way you fix this is with AJ being the one who knocks off Roman.
No, the only way you fix this is a hard brand split.
That's also a good move, yeah.
Where it doesn't matter whether you want this belt or not. You're on the other, this is the NL Championship, the National League Championship, and then you've got the American League Championship. And then
there
once
will
a
be
year,
no World Series.
And once a year, you have them face off, the current NL champion and AL champion, and one of them gets to say, I am the champion of champions for one moment.
Yeah, for just this match.
And then they go back to being their own champions, And it doesn't take away just because you lost your match against the AL champion doesn't mean you're no longer the NL champion.
The word undisputed is a horrible decision.
Yeah. Thing is, it's not like this is the first time they've used undisputed, right? One of my favorite belts that WWE ever had was the undisputed championship belt. It was the one Brock Lesnar wore.
Correct, but they didn't have a reason that this broke up, and now it says undisputed champion on it. Well, that's not the case anymore.
But anyways,
WWE is always shit on one of the two.
It bugs me because it was 2013 when they debuted the Scratch logo belt similar to this, right? Of course, the Scratch logo was slightly different because it had where the swoosh is on this was a big banner that said champion, and the WW was smaller, and of course, Scratch logoed. And it was only like a year later they debuted the network logo version, which this is just a variant of. But ever since then, they've been debuting this belt over and over and over again, just with small tweaks to it. One, make it a little bit smaller and put it on a white strap, and now it's the women's championship.
Yeah.
Now, make it back to the same size, but put it on a red strap, and now it's the undisputed. Now it's the Universal Championship.
Universal
Championship. Now make it a little smaller again and put a blue strap on it, and now it's the SmackDown Women's Championship. Now, make it the same size again, but put it on a blue strap. Take the red strap and change it to a blue strap. And now the Universal Championship is now a blue strap Universal. It's just the same thing over and over again. And the new heavyweight title, while again I had some nitpicks on it, there are lots of things I really do like about it, and I think it's a beautiful belt overall. And compared to this, I think it lights out a better belt because it feels like a championship belt. This feels like marketing material. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This feels like the pin that the mortgage company that you financed your house for gives you at the end of it to show off, or more specifically, the sign that your realtor has you hold while they take the picture in front of the house that they just helped you buy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and there are lots of little things on it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know that the jewels on these things aren't real jewels, right? They're Swarovski crystals at best, right?
They just came back from Saudi Arabia. Those are crown jewels.
Those are crown jewels. But here, these black jewels here that are in the WW, right?
Okay.
They, to me, look bland, maybe a little cheap. They might be, onyx for all that I know, right? They might be fucking harvested from a volcano and,
Well, and the real ones might actually be. They're not on this, obviously.
yeah. I mean, this is, by the way, this, to be clear, this is the WWE shop image of it. I tried to find
the title. You can see it at the top.
Yep. I tried to find a good picture of the real one. And I couldn't find one that was really clear. Like the best one I could find. I'll switch to it. Is just a still from SmackDown. And because of lighting, it's really hard to see a lot of the detail in it. It just blows out here and here. But in the end, again, it's just these black stones. And you know what no one ever asks for on like high-end jewelry when they're buying like a wedding ring or a fancy ring, or like, I don't know, the winners of the World Series. They never ask for black gems, right? What they ask for are diamonds. They ask for jewels, diamonds, rubies, emeralds, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And this here, the black here, are just like black stones.
Hey, that black on that backsplash back there. You see that?
Yeah.
Take a picture of that. I want to get some jewelry made out of that stuff.
The black tiles, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not the white one, not the subway white tiles, the black tiles next to
the
it.
ones in between. Yeah. That right there. Yeah.
Make those into my jewels. And so, like, I like the fact that they're going gold, because I think gold makes it feel more like a championship belt. Mm-hmm. I like that it's not just the strap showing through here, because the original black WWE logo belt, that's what it was. It was just the strap that showed through. So this is actual gold plating. I like that. I like the fact that it's gold. I just wish the jewels were more like jewel. And the same, I'm gonna say that's the same thing I want on the WW for the new World Heavyweight Championship. The WW is just plain on both of them, and I would like it to be something more. I'm just gonna switch back to the other image, because the other image is at least easier to see what we're talking about on them, because it's not so blown out. But these black stones here are just blah. these stones along the side are fine. They're just the same thing they've had on it for forever. This little undisputed champion at the bottom. You know, I would really like if it said champion in a way that was more like champion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of understated. But in fairness, the new heavyweight championship also says champion in relatively small letters on it. So I guess I get it. I would prefer something that had champion displayed a little bit more. Again, like I said, I want it to feel like a championship belt, not another marketing material. And that's what this just feels like to me.
I also was not a big fan of Roman's willingness to accept this. It just doesn't seem like the character he is right now.
About the only thing.
Give me a third one?
Here's what I would have preferred them to debut it this way. Instead of Triple H standing there saying, in honor of your historic 1,000-day reign, the longest reign in almost 40 years, here's your new belt. I would have preferred if this was an act of hubris from Roman. Roman walking out and saying, in honor of my 1,000-day record as champion,
Kind of a...
I have commissioned a new belt.
Yeah.
Well,
which is what The Rock did
me.
when this style was designed.
Mm-hmm. That's what it should be. This should have been him saying, I've carried these two belts for so long. I've been Universal Champion for 1,000 days. I am going to show off.
WWE Champion for 700 days.
Yeah,
or
whatever it is. I am tired of carrying two belts to represent how cool I am. I commissioned this belt to show the world how cool I am.
That's fair.
I would have liked that. I guess the only thing that saves me from just really hating this belt is the fact that I'm fairly certain, at least for now, I am fairly certain that this belt is relatively temporary.
You think that they're going to replace this one then?
I think that this is going to go down as Roman's belt.
Oh.
That when Roman loses it, the next champion will debut a new belt.
Fair enough.
Now this is the 1,000-day belt, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And the next champion is not the 1,000-day champion. Therefore, he doesn't get the 1,000-day belt.
That makes sense.
So that's at least, for the time being, I may be wrong, but for the time being, I'm going to say I think that is the storyline that to me makes the most sense. That is the storyline that I'm going to go with in terms of what I think it should be. Now, I am going to show one thing here. This is a fan-made belt that may have been made a while ago. I don't know how long ago it was. But this particular belt is a little bit more like if they wanted to keep the same design language that this one had, that the WWE belt has had recently, but update it. I think this is a way that they could have gone that would have waylaid a lot of my complaints.
Really?
If only because A, it makes the jewels in the WW look. Now, this isn't perfect by any means, but it makes the jewels in the WWE look like jewels. It adds in an eagle, the double eagle motif. It has some filigree in the back that doesn't look like just generic texturing. I don't know if I necessarily care about the globe, but the globe is just like the new World Heavyweight Championship has, except this one is filled in instead of just empty, right?
Sure.
Otherwise, it's got the same design language, but I think it looks more like a championship belt then. Again, still not perfect, right? None of these are perfect. My
You're saying
favorite
it's
belt of all
better.
time. It's just better. I think it's something that is a step in the better direction.
Fair enough.
But for me, the best championships have always been from every company have always been the ones that looked like actual championships, not marketing material. And the problem is a lot of them now look like marketing material, especially the WWE ones, but all of them have the big company logo front and center, AEW's included. Um and I kind of wish that would go away a little bit, or at least be minimized a little bit. Did I lose you?
I've got you muted. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well,
my face is frozen.
Your face
it's
is
been
frozen,
for
so I wasn't
ages.
sure.
I thought stopping the cam and turning it on would.
Yeah. But
Yep, still frozen.
Yep, still frozen. It's fine.
In a blink, nonetheless, which is really funny.
But yeah, because we've all said, known. I've said it many a times. My favorite championship belt of all time is the big gold belt. I don't think I don't think I'm in the minority with that one, right? If you asked 100 professional wrestling fans of my age what their favorite championship belt of all time is, you would probably get about 50% of them saying the big gold belt, and 50% of them saying either the winged eagle or the big eagle, right? And that kind of depends on which where they started watching wrestling, right?
Sure. Yeah.
If they started in the mid 90s, it'd probably be the winged eagle. If they started in the late 90s, early 2000s, it'd be the big eagle. Either way,
Correct.
There's actually fairly small differences really in terms of it. The big eagle just took it and made it all into one plate instead of the winged eagle that had the wings and then the bars on the outside. But they're very similar design.
The wings were a little bit off of the plate on the winged eagle.
Yes, on the winged eagle. Well, that's the deal. The winged eagle wasn't just a round thing. It was the winged eagle and then the posts on the outside. The big eagle brought it all and turned it into a circle.
Correct.
Right? But otherwise, the design language is very, very similar. You had the company logo at the top, whether it was the scratch logo in the big eagle or the WWE logo, WWF logo in the winged eagle.
Yeah.
You had a champion across the bottom in either of them. One of them, the gold eagle, the winged eagle, had wrestling champion instead of just champion, but otherwise very similar. Side plates were very similar on both of them. I prefer the winged eagle myself, but I understand people who like the big eagle better. I don't have a problem with it. I very nearly bought a big eagle belt off Facebook Marketplace a week ago, and I still kick myself for not doing it.
Oh, did he end up selling?
It ended up selling, and it ended up selling like a day before Like literally, I woke up one morning and I was like, you know what?
Forget it. I'm gonna do it.
I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. And then I checked Facebook Marketplace and it was gone. I was like, son of a bitch. And so now I'm back to what do I do? Looks like I wait around a little longer. Or I hop on eBay and I buy a knockoff.
I think that's the one you pick.
Hop on eBay, buy a knockoff. The tough thing with the knockoff is they're knockoffs. And quality can vary greatly depending on where it was made, how it was made. And so you're taking kind of a shot if you don't know exactly where it's coming from. But you also save yourself hundreds of dollars. So,
True. Or you can get it on WWEshop.com.
Yep. And spend hundreds of dollars more, but get a really good quality belt.
Yes.
So, moving on, we'll talk AEW. We'll get AEW done, and then we'll probably wrap things up. So this, of course, was the fallout from
Double or Nothing.
Double or Nothing. At Double or Nothing, we did know that Chris Jericho and Saraya challenged Adam Cole and Britt Baker to a mixed tag match. So that was going to happen. It was previously announced that Orange Cassidy was going to team with Darby Allin versus Toa Leona and Bishop Khan, Gates of Agony, current Ring of Honor Trios champions. Which does bring one gripe I'm still having with AEW is that they announced like a month and a half ago that now that Ring of Honor had its own streaming show, and all that stuff, that we were going to be seeing the Ring of Honor champions less on AEW, and then we saw them a lot this week.
I don't know that they have the subscribership that they're looking for.
I understand that, but again,
that's because of the structure of it.
The way you get the subscribership to it is not by giving away all their matches on AEW, right? The way you get that is by making those matches something that you have to subscribe to see.
True.
Again, I'm vocal about it on Twitter. I think Ring of Honor needs to, for its own good, be operated as a completely separate, independent thing with little to no crossover whatsoever, right?
Hire a booker who is well known for their great booking skills. Vince Russo, per se.
Mm-hmm. Now
maybe not Vince Russo.
They may be on the path towards doing something like that. At the Ring of Honor tapings, this is a spoiler. So if you're a Ring of Honor fan and don't want spoiled, I'll hold my hand up. When my hand goes down, the spoiler is done being talked about. But I'm going to start spoiling now in 3, 2, 1. At the Ring of Honor tapings, Tony Khan apparently announced that there's going to be a new board of directors for Ring of Honor. And I totally I'm blanking on one of the names that he announced. So during it, he announced that one of them, there it is. Stokely Hathaway and Jerry Lynn are the new Ring of Honor board of directors.
Jerry Lynn's a great booker. I don't know about Stokely Hathaway.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, this is also kayfabe, so whether I don't know how much they're going to be booking for it, but they're at least going to be an on-screen authority. And I think that's for the best of Ring of Honor. Okay, we're going to stop saying by name what's going on now. but yeah, so that's at least a step in the right direction for Ring of Honor.
Yes.
I actually would prefer if he did something similar to AEW. I don't have a problem with Tony Khan per se, but he doesn't have
He's
what I would
enjoying
call
it too much for that.
well, he doesn't have a good media presence, right? At least not for doing what his character should be doing when
Right.
announcing things, right? This is I personally think, as much as I love him on commentary, I personally would love if Tony Khan were to just come out and say, I've named Tony Schiavone as my mouthpiece on this show. So when Tony Schiavone says something, assume it's coming from me, right? He is my voice. He is my eyes and ears here. All announcements for me will come through him because Tony Schiavone has the showmanship to do it.
Yes.
And he's got the charisma.
And to say direct from Tony Khan, because
Yes.
we've heard him say direct from Tony Khan.
Because Tony Khan looks like a fucking robot on cocaine when he's out there. He like doesn't blink for the entire time. He's like, "This is Tony Khan. I would like everyone to know." I can't even do it. My eyes are getting dry. I would like everyone to know that we're going back to Chicago. Jeez, I can't do it.
I saw that movie, Cocaine Robot.
Cocaine Robot? Is it? No, it's Cocaine Bear.
It's a bear. Yeah,
it's a bear, and it really happened, but not nearly as exciting as the movie made it. In reality, the bear just kind of died from cocaine. So, don't do drugs, kids. Most importantly, not a suitcase full of them. Anyways.
Especially if you're a bear.
I mean.
In which case, if you're watching this podcast and you're a bear, good job.
Man? You're a bear. What's that about? Anyways, we went off on a tangent. I just think Tony Khan could do with taking a step back from the spotlight, just running the business, doing his shit, and let someone else be the face of AEW's announcements because he doesn't have the showmanship to do it. And I think it really comes down to he is such a fan himself that he can't separate the fan Tony Khan from the character Tony Khan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've given a lot of crap to Vince McMahon over the years for not being a wrestling fan. Because he doesn't watch wrestling. The only wrestling he watches is his own program. And he only watches it because he thinks he knows better than everyone else, right? But what he does really well is separating character Vince from person Vince on screen.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think Tony Khan could do with doing that. But in the case of this, I just wish I wish they would put a hard line between Ring of Honor and AEW. They could talk about it on AEW.
Sure.
If they want to. I think it would do better if it was an even harder line, but that's fine if you talk about it.
Well, I think that you could do that talking about it just as a recap.
Yeah. The thing is, what I worry if they talked about it too much on AEW, that it would start to feel like AEW's developmental, which maybe it is, but I don't think fans would like to think of it like that. You know what I mean? Especially since Ring of Honor has a lot more history than AEW.
Yeah.
Fans of Ring of Honor telling them that it's the feeder system to AEW is a little insulting to them. And so make it its own program. Make it its own thing. Give it its own rules, its own everything, and separate it off and let it do what it does. And here's the deal. From what I've seen of Ring of Honor's television product that's on Honor Club,
same thing.
They do a very good job of presenting it as its own thing. The matches have a unique feel. The atmosphere feels unique. It feels like a Ring of Honor show. And so that's fine. Let it do that. Don't bleed it into AEW anymore. But, we'll see. Anyways, started off with Lucha Bros and Bandito versus Blackpool Combat Club. Bandito came out dressed like, I don't know, a love bug, I think. He had antenna. But it was a fun match, all in all. Blackpool Combat Club won, as we expected. Continually putting Yuta over. Which is nice. I mean, obviously they're setting Wheeler Yuta up for big things. Right? Jay White and Juice Robinson came out and talked, or maybe had an interview backstage. I'm trying to remember. But they want to go after FTR. FTR came out to respond and were jumped, and then Ricky Starks made the save, so of course that's not done. Ricky Starks challenged Jay White. We'll find out what's going to happen with that in the future. Backstage, Young Bucks and Hangman. Oh, this is an important thing. I forgot about this. Young Bucks and Hangman talking backstage were being interviewed about their loss, and Dark Order came in and interrupted them and was basically like, I see you've chosen your old friends instead of your new friends. I see what it is. And then they offhandedly said, I know that Kenny Omega has left the country. He went back to home country of Canada. And then right at the end, Hangman Page said, you're right, Kenny Omega did leave the country, but he didn't go back to Canada, and then left. So where could he be?
Ooh.
It's not like we don't have a crossover pay-per-view coming up.
He's obviously in Istanbul, which used to be Constantinople.
Yeah, it's not Constantinople. It's Istanbul. Been a long time gone, Constantinople. But if you have a date in Constantinople, you'll find her waiting in Istanbul.
Oh, that was lame.
It was lame, but here's the deal is I can't say Istanbul without saying not Constantinople. I can't. It's physically impossible for me to do anymore. I even had one of those, those Facebook quizzes things that your friends post on their thing, and it's, name the first song that comes to your head when I say this or whatever, and then post it on your page, so we can all see each other's favorite songs and musical taste, whatever. I had a friend who shared one of those, and one of them was Name a City. And I didn't share it on my page because I don't do that, but I did comment on hers to let them know. Name a city is Istanbul, not Constantinople. Anyways, backstage then, Tony Khan officially announced that CM Punk will be at the premiere of Collision that Saturday in Chicago, which we all knew was the worst kept secret in professional wrestling, right? I think it would have been better if he'd announced something else about a Collision and just never mentioned CM Punk, right?
Yeah,
people are
God
buying
only knows
tickets
when
to
he's
it.
not going to show up again.
Yeah. People are already buying tickets to it because they think CM Punk's going to show up. Let him show up and be the surprise, or let him not show up, and then you don't have to worry about saying, I told you he was going to be here, but then things fell through and he didn't show up or whatever, right? keeps the heat off you if you just don't say anything. Anyways, but he did. So CM Punk's going to be at Collision in Chicago. The crowd really didn't seem to care. So, and it's not that this was a dead crowd, as we'll talk about when we talk about Don Callis coming out in a little bit. Then you had Trent Beretta versus Swerve Strickland versus Big Bill, paying off some stuff that happened at the Battle Royal, which was kind of a neat. It's one of those things that wrestling shows don't often go into as much as I wish they would, and that is fallout from Battle Royals, right? In the case of this, Trent Beretta was directly eliminated by Swerve Strickland and Big Bill, right? And so to have that be a match coming out of it, I think was fun. You had the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass announcing that they're going after the Trios Championships again. So I guess that's gonna happen. And then here's where Don Callis came out to talk about why he turned on Kenny Omega and why Takeshita is with him. Ever since Anarchy in the Arena, what's going on? And I tell you what, the heat was fucking nuclear. I even sent to the podcast group during it because I was like, yeah. I gotta be honest, I didn't know that Kenny Omega was that popular in San Diego because there's nuclear heat on Don Callis. Because they could almost not even speak. The crowd was so loud against them. It was crazy loud. And Takeshita got a lot of heat out of it too. So I've been a critic of Don Callis for a long time. I don't really enjoy him on my screen, right? But in this moment, I saw what value he's bringing right now to the company. Because that's lava heat. So, I do think they're building up to a blood and guts match. Blackpool Combat Club and Takeshita versus the Elite plus someone. Sorry, I had a sneeze.
Okay.
Allergies.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, and then finally, it ended up the streak going down. Orange Cassidy versus Darby Allin. Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin versus Gates of Agony, as I mentioned. Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy were able to get the win. Jungle Boy saved Hook from being attacked, which was nice. Chris Statlander defended the TBS championship that she just won on Sunday against Nyla Rose, which was fun. And then Adam Cole and Britt Baker versus Chris Jericho and Saraya ended the night with Adam Cole and Britt Baker getting the victory.
And Jericho in the submission maneuver from Britt Baker, which was always fun.
Yes.
They do much better mixed tag there.
They do, because they don't segregate it so it still has the same rules. Men versus men, women
the rules
versus
are there,
women.
but it's not.
But they don't hit it so hardcore. Like, there's always a spot in it where the woman attacks the opponent man, and the man attacks the opponent woman. There's all, because wrestling is messy, and it's always so weird in WWE where there's two women in the ring, and then one of the women tags the man, and the other woman is like, "Oh, looks like I just get out of the ring because that's what the rules say." Just go for it, guys. But it was overall a fairly decent show, but nothing huge happened, right? Rampage only had, I think, 4 matches on it, but again, one of them was defending in fact, they called it Championship Friday. There were 4 matches, 4 championships on the line, none of them AEW championships. There was a Ring of Honor championship, 2 New Japan championships, and a AAA championship on the ring.
Because our shows are for you to feature your products.
Apparently. Started out with Dralistico versus El Hijo del Vikingo versus Commander for the AAA Mega Championship. It was a bunch of high flyers from Mexico doing lucha stuff. It was a good match, but it was lucha shit. I mean that with love. It's what it was. Then they contrasted it immediately with Zack Sabre Jr. making his AEW debut, defending his New Japan World TV Championship against Action Andretti. And this match was not a high-flying match. It was a very grounded match, which Zack Sabre tends to do. And it was a fun one.
Yeah, it's
Zombie Slayer 4446 is following.
Thank you for the follow, bud. It 4 years ago when AEW started, I did not expect to ever be talking about how multiple championships from other shows are featured on there. It just, I like it, but I don't. It's almost like their trade agreements with other places have overwhelmed themselves.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I just think if you're going to call it AEW Rampage Championship Friday, maybe at least one of the matches should be for an AEW title.
No,
I mean, it's not like you have a shortage of titles.
That's awesome.
World title, tag titles, trios titles.
And you know what?
TNT
do that.
Title.
Throw us a curveball.
TBS title, Women's World title. You have 7 different belts. Oh, the FTW title, which isn't officially AEW title, but it's still an AEW title. You have 7 titles that you could have featured that were AEW titles. None of them were on. And JPW Strong Women's Championship held by Willow Nightingale. And these were all like AEW wrestlers.
Yeah. Which is where the agreements are cool. But they're also
Willow Nightingale versus Emi Sakura. It was what it was. Now, we'll get to Zombie Slayer's comment here in a second because I'm sure it'll get some fun from Fabe. Willow Nightingale apparently was not supposed to win the Strong Women's Championship. That was a on-the-fly call from Mercedes Moné, formerly Sasha Banks, after she injured her ankle. She made the call in the ring that she felt her injury was probably bad enough that she wouldn't be able to defend the belt like she needed to, and that the better option would be for Willow to win. So a lot of this is them like course correcting with Willow Nightingale, which is kind of interesting if you ask me. But it's in a way a happy accident because it got their championship featured on an episode of AEW Rampage, Willow Nightingale won because they weren't going to have that title change hands on an AEW show. And then the final match of the night, Katsuyori Shibata defended the Ring of Honor Pure Championship against Lee Moriarty. And I enjoy Pure Championship rules matches. I do enjoy them. But that's a Ring of Honor thing. It should be in Ring of Honor, man. It was fun. BJ Whitmer, Christopher Daniels, and Jerry Lynn served as the judges. It didn't end up going to judges' decision. Shibata won with a pin at the end. And then Daniel Garcia came out and did a standoff with Shibata. So that's what they're leading up to, I guess, on AEW TV for a Ring of Honor thing. Zombie Slayer says that in his opinion, or her, I guess I don't know, in their opinion, Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels is totally underrated. He's a great wrestler. I think he should have been a champion by now.
Well, that's unfortunate. Because he's not. Maybe you should watch more Impact, because he had been there, but not the world champion. You know why? Because he's not underrated. He's rated.
Would you say he's rated?
He's rated. So over wrestling fans thinking that Christopher Daniels is great.
Man, you're going to cost us to follow, man.
That's everybody's entitled to their opinion. I just don't have to play along with very wrong opinions.
Listen, I like Christopher Daniels. I don't know if I think he should be world champion, but I think he's got a lot of things.
Your best shot at that was Christopher Daniels in his match with AJ Styles circa 2006 AJ World Championship. AJ won because AJ's the better wrestler. If you just go who's better at that time, AJ was still the better guy. So, and he never got back there because he has a stupid gimmick and just. Thanks for the follow, bud. Love having you here.
I will say, me personally, I like Christopher Daniels. I think his Fallen Angel gimmick holds him back.
And there's been a variation of it every single place he's gone. SCU was the least variation of that. Oh, well past his prime.
Mm-hmm.
His prime, not a pro wrestler's prime. His particular prime happened in his 30s. He's in his late 40s, early 50s now. Like, he just can't go. If he just would have been, I don't know, SCU in 2007, he could have been the leader of SCU, and that would have worked great. And it's over. It's over.
I do think
I want to start a company called Has Been Professional Wrestling, so everybody can have all their has-beens still. Oh God.
I think he has a lot to bring to the table in terms of mentorship. I think he has a lot to bring to the table in terms of knowledge of professional wrestling and structuring a match. I would 100% think he could be on a booking committee for Ring of Honor.
I think he could teach people character development. I just think he chose this character that has been so overdone everywhere. I mean, it's the reason Bray's most recent version didn't go. We're playing the supernatural, the dark, it better fucking be authentic, or you better be a better actor than The Undertaker was for 32 years. Not hard to be a better actor than The Undertaker. Really hard to have a better character than The Undertaker for 32 years.
Here's what it comes down to with Bray Wyatt. I'm going to pivot over to Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt's character pre The Fiend, right? When he was
this dark, wicked person.
it was perfect, and should have stayed perfect if they would have just fucking let him win every once in a while. 50-50 booking is
I
what
think
killed
Colt
Bray
Leader
Wyatt.
Bray was fantastic.
Yeah, Colt Leader Bray was fine. Wicked Bray was fine. They all would have been great if they would have just let him fucking win. But they were so determined to keep 50-50 booking going that guess what happened? It killed his character because he lost all the fucking
The
time.
Fiend was fine all the way up until Hell in a Cell.
Here, I think we can agree with
that one. I can agree with you with.
Christopher Daniels and Kazarian were a great tag team, and 100% both of them should be in the TNA Hall of Fame. Right?
But owners get butthurt. That's the only reason people don't make it into certain Hall of Fames.
And Kaz is back in Impact, if I'm correct.
Yeah. But Daniels is not right now. Daniels is still helping AEW, and he's definitely doing what at his age he should be doing. And he understands the sport. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say he's never given something. He's given his life to this industry. More than any of us can say, unless I don't know, maybe we're lucky and we've got well, I can't say The Rock or John Cena, who didn't give their lives to the industry. Maybe you're the Undertaker. Maybe you're Mark Calloway.
Here's the tough thing with the TNA Hall of Fame. It's a tough thing with all Hall of Fames, but specifically with wrestling, it's really tough.
Yeah, because it's more subjective than baseball.
Not only is it subjective, but here's what it comes down to: because wrestling is so splintered, and because of the way contracts are written, it's hard to put someone in a Hall of Fame if they're not currently with your company, right? Because right now, Christopher Daniels is not with Impact Wrestling. So TNA decide they want to put the Daniels and Kazarian into the Hall of Fame. They got Kazarian under contract, but now they've got to negotiate with not just Christopher Daniels, but AEW to allow. Now, would AEW probably allow it? Sure. Most likely, yes. But say Christopher Daniels was currently working backstage at WWE. Do you think WWE would allow it? The answer is no.
Yeah, I mean, imagine the moment they start going after Abyss.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they already did, but they put Abyss in the Hall of Fame in 2018 before he started working.
Before he started working for WWE.
He was still working for Impact Wrestling at the time. The other tough thing for Impact Wrestling is they only put one person or group in a year, right?
When you do it, you got to make it count.
So yeah, they're hitting all the biggest names, and the unfortunate thing is, one second here.
I mean, there's going to come a point where WWE is about who are we not going to allow to be in WWE Hall of Fame. TNA is real.
Yeah. Well, in TNA Impact. So here's the current list of Impact Hall of Fame. Their first inducting was in 2012, excuse me, and that was Sting when he was still with Impact Wrestling. That was before he ever debuted for WWE, right? 2013, Kurt Angle. 2015, they actually put two people in, though. It was
because they were making up for 14.
Well, no, I forgot. 2014, they put two people in because they inducted Team 3D as a team.
Oh, okay.
Bully Ray and Diva. 2015, they put two people in, but one of them was a referee, not a wrestler. So it's Jeff Jarrett and Earl Hebner went in that year. Jeff Jarrett as a wrestler and co-founder of TNA.
Yeah, you kind of got to do that. It sucks, but you do.
2016, Gail Kim. There was no inductee in 2017. 2018, they put Abyss in. There was no one in 2019. 2020, Ken Shamrock. 2021, Awesome Kong. 2022, Raven. So now, let's just say they're trying to decide for 2023. Who do they put in this year, right? In terms of who's currently with Impact Wrestling, let's say they can work out a deal to get Christopher Daniels and Kazarian and put them both in at the same time, right? Well, right now, currently with Impact Wrestling, you got Motor City Machine Guns, who I think have been more important as a whole to Impact Wrestling than Christopher Daniels and Kazarian, right?
Very true. Yep.
You've got I'm just scrolling through to think. Look, Tommy Dreamer as a producer, who's been with Impact Wrestling for a very, very long time. You go to broadcast team, you've got Dave Penzer as the ring announcer, and he's been there since WCW closed, right? You've got Christy Hemme as a producer. You've got Josh Matthews as senior producer. You've got Lance Storm, right? Robert Roode is apparently out with a neck injury, and it's apparently very serious and may or may not be able to ever return to wrestling. I'm hoping they can get it worked out, but apparently both him and Randy Orton have been dealing with serious neck injuries. Let's look at previous champions for Impact Wrestling. Booker T was the first TNA King of the Mountain champion. He currently has a contract with WWE as a commentator, right?
Indeed.
King of the Mountain was at one point also the Legends Championship or the Global Championship or what they now later called the TNA Champion or the Television Champion. So let's look. Booker T with WWE. AJ Styles with WWE. You could do Kevin Nash. Do you think Kevin Nash is more important to TNA overall than Daniels and Kazarian? I would think so.
There's a lot of people who would tell you he was.
Yeah. Mick Foley.
Right or wrong. There's a lot of people who would tell you he was.
Mick Foley is currently a WWE Legends, but maybe you could negotiate him. I would definitely put him above Daniels and Kazarian. Eric Young. He just signed a new contract reportedly with WWE, so that's a no. AJ Styles again? Nope. He's currently in WWE.
Probably a WWE Hall of Famer.
Yep.
It would be like Sting and Angle.
Doug Williams. Now we're finally getting to ones. Gunner. I'd put Christopher Daniels and Kazarian over Gunner. Robbie E.
Definitely put him over that.
But there you got Samoa Joe, right? If you're gonna negotiate with AEW to get Christopher Daniels, you'd probably be trying to go Samoa Joe first. Yeah, you mentioned Eric Bischoff. Bischoff could be arguably in the TNA Hall of Fame. But let's do world champions instead of instead of television champions. Let's do world champions. I got to get to the right one. Where's the right? Here we go. Impact World Championships. This is the one that debuted in 2007. Kurt Angle was the first one, already in the Hall of Fame. Matt and Jeff Hardy, yeah, but you have to go negotiate with AEW for them. EC3 is currently signed to NWA, so you'd have to negotiate with them for him. There's Samoa Joe, AEW. Sting, already in. Kurt Angle again. AJ Styles. Rob Van Dam, he's a free agent. You could get him. Do you think Rob Van Dam deserves to be in the TNA Hall of Fame above Christopher Daniels and Kazarian? I think so. Mr. Anderson. You could put Christopher Daniels and Kazarian in above Mr. Anderson. No problems there. You mentioned James Storm.
I would put James Storm and Bobby Roode together in.
Yeah, together I would put them in.
That's the difference maker there.
If you could get Bobby Roode. I'd put them in above Austin Aries. But now you run into Bully Ray was their champion. He's currently in as part of Team 3D, but do you give him a solo shot?
Who do you use as Suicide though? Which Suicide?
Yeah, that's really tough.
I mean, I suppose you can put the character Suicide in. That actually would be pretty cool. But he's a pretty active wrestler. Because they change it all the time.
Let's go back even farther to the NWA World Championship. That was the original TNA World Championship. So we'll start off with TNA. We will. You got Ken Shamrock, Ron Killings. Ron Killings arguably should be in the TNA Hall of Fame, but guess what? He's R-Truth in WWE. Jeff Jarrett, AJ Styles we've mentioned. Jeff Jarrett, AJ Styles we've mentioned. Ron Killings again. Jeff Jarrett. Ray Gonzalez. I'd put them in over Ray Gonzalez. Jeff Jarrett, AJ Styles, Raven's already in. Rhino. I'd put Rhino in. Would I put him in above Christopher Daniels and Kazarian? Maybe. Christian Cage. You could argue Christian Cage was a very large reason that TNA was semi-competitive in the mid-2000s.
God, he was at his very best there. Christian Cage just... I remember him coming back to WWE and then Edge getting hurt and just being like, I don't really want to see this.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the tough thing. Well, and LAX is tough. LAX is tough from a totally different standpoint. Because LAX was a rotating group of members over the years, right? But the biggest thing is LAX as an organization is trademarked through Conan. And he uses it currently in Major League Wrestling, but he actually also uses it still in AAA. And so that's why when Santana and Ortiz came to AEW when they started off, they weren't allowed to call themselves LAX anymore because it's owned by Conan, and Conan has to give permission, right? But like, who do you put in from LAX, right? Do you just put the whole group as whole in there? At that point, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 total members. But the last 3 of them are MLW. So let's say 14 total members. Right? But you have to get Conan's permission to call it LAX. And then, of course, you have to put him in it because, he owns it. So then you're putting Conan, Homicide, Hernandez in. I'd agree with all of those.
Definitely Hernandez. That dude should have been a world champion. Yeah. There's an argument I'll have with you.
But then Apollo, Machete, Ricky Vega. Do you put their ring announcer, Hector Melendez, in there? Do you put Hector Guerrero, their manager, in there?
I think you treat that much like WWE treated the NWO.
Yeah. Yeah, where do you draw the line? Do you just put the first 4 in there? You know what I mean? At which point, you're leaving Santana and Ortiz out, who did their best work as part of LAX.
Yeah.
But they're in AEW now. Diamante was in LAX. She's in AEW now. Low Key is, I don't know, wherever he wants to be. Not actually in a specific company. Do you put Eddie Kingston in? Because he was part of LAX from 2018 on.
That doesn't. What? Eddie Kingston was in there?
Eddie Kingston was in LAX. Technically, he was only in for a year, but that's because he left to go to AEW.
Yeah.
But he was called King there. But it's Eddie Kingston.
I did not know that.
I guess his mother's Puerto Rican, so, it fits.
Welcome to the...
But here's the deal. I mean, ultimately, Zombie Slayer, you're putting a bunch of names out, and on most of them, I would agree they should be in the Hall of Fame above Christopher Daniels and Kazarian. Even though I think Christopher Daniels and Kazarian should be in the Hall of Fame.
I think Impact is a very, very... I think they're cautious about becoming WWE. I think WWE should have limited it to 5 per year. It also makes for a better television product there. But Impact only does 1 a year, in theory.
Yes. I think they could do a handful. You know what I mean? Like you said, 5 or 3, something like that. But like you said, WWE has a tendency in some years to go a little bit overboard.
17 inductees this year, and our marquee inductee is Barry Horowitz.
Our marquee inductee is someone who's still currently wrestling for us. Who do we want for a secondary inductee? Someone who actually never did wrestle for us.
I think it's too soon. Now, Bobby Lashley may eventually... I don't know that he belongs in the Impact Hall of Fame. I think he carried them for a while, but I don't know that he... That's a tough one.
The tough thing with Bobby Lashley is he came in a down period for Impact Wrestling.
Under their current set of how they induct people, no. That's what I'll say.
Yeah. Well, because here's the deal: is Bobby Lashley's time in Impact Wrestling was during a time. I'm just trying to look up the exact dates of it to make sure. 2009 to 2010. Then he went to WWE for a while, and then he came back 2014 to 2018. And if you look at like ratings wise and success wise, 2014 to 2018 for Impact Wrestling was not really a very good time for them. Because that's when that was right after the TNA Billy Corgan fallout.
That's right.
Then when Anthem bought them in late 2018 or 2017 is when Global Force Wrestling tried to merge with Impact Wrestling, call themselves a TNA/GFW. The belt now was the Global Force Wrestling belt. They did all this stuff and then canceled it all within a year. And that put it all into thing. And then it got put on a television channel that most of America doesn't get. And as good as Bobby Lashley was during that time, you could argue Brian Cage was as important to TNA at that time. Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix were both in TNA at that time.
With regards to Galloway, I think those two are both maybes.
I think they're about the same, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that you can go all in on Drew Galloway. Impact, yes, he's a one-time champion, but...
Well, and ultimately it comes down to...
What did he do for the company? Abyss had a role in the company.
Yeah. The biggest argument you
Hogan had a bigger impact than Galloway.
Yeah. The biggest argument you have for both Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre being in the Impact Wrestling Hall of Fame is all the shit they did after they left TNA. And that's not a good reason to put someone in the Impact Wrestling or TNA Hall of Fame. You know what I mean?
It is a good reason to put them in your advertisements, though. They do that all the time.
Because by that argument, TNA should announce CM Punk is going in the Impact Hall of Fame, the TNA Hall of Fame.
He didn't do shit there.
Nope. It precisely jack and shit. But he was in Impact Wrestling for a short period of time and has done a whole lot after it. And, I'm not, 100% dogging on any of them, but in the end...
It also lends a significant amount of more value to TNA's Hall of Fame than, say, WWE's Hall of Fame.
Well, that's my point. It's like, Bobby Lashley and Drew Galloway, they both had their runs in Impact, and they were both really good in Impact. Not trying to take it away from them. But their biggest contributions to Impact Wrestling, their biggest contributions to wrestling as a whole, came outside of Impact Wrestling in other companies. You could argue that Cody Rhodes belongs in the TNA Hall of Fame for the exact same reason as Bobby Lashley and Drew McIntyre. But their impact was not in Impact Wrestling. in TNA Wrestling. It was afterwards when they did other things. And that's a slippery slope for professional wrestling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So this hour-long podcast has gone 2 hours now.
It has gone 2 hours. So I think it's time for us to wrap things up. Zombie Slayer, thanks for joining us. Come back Tuesday. We do a fun show on Tuesday where we play games and we talk and we are a little bit more scattershot. So come back Tuesday, same time, or come back next Sunday, same time. We do this twice a week, Tuesdays and Sundays. Thanks for the follow. Join us. We have a lot of fun. You can also support us by subscribing. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you get a free subscription every month. So it doesn't cost you a thing. Or for just $5, you get access to emotes. You get commercial-free viewing, so you don't have the ads pop up and mute us. You get a discount in our merch store, on our Stream Elements merch store. Links in the doobly-doos for all of the information there on how to support. You can also support us with bits and tips. Information's all on our info panel for all of that. And you can support us by following us on the social media. You can follow me at Raw and Order WBU, just like it says right under my name there, at Raw and Order WBU. You can follow DA Fabe at
DA Vincent Kayfabe, because I can't point because our thumbnail still has me blinking, and
on my end it just has you black, so
yeah, it's just got me black on the actual screen.
But I'm pointing for you.
I appreciate it. That's why I put it up.
Kayfabe.
So
right,
yeah,
just on Twitter,
and that's on Twitter only. Yep.
But yeah, there's a link tree in the doobly-doos for all of our stuff to support us that way. But liking, sharing, and subscribing, sending your friends our way, that's the best way to help us out. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and close the book on the Wrestling Booking Unit. Thank you all for joining us. We will see you soon.
Tuesday. Yep. Tuesday.